Really, it's been somewhat similar. And, I mean, it's all different, it's all new, but, still what I've done for the last 4 years is represent PokerStars and travel the world playing in big poker tournaments. If I give you a rough outline, it sounds the same. It's like, go to Europe, go to other places all over the world, go to the Caribbean, play in big poker tournaments and try to win big money. Heads Up No Limit Hold'em is all about figuring your opponent out. If you can read your opponent perfectly, you're almost 100% to beat them. And so I try to do things to enable myself to remain hidden from them while trying to figure them out. And what I do is a lot of small bets. When I'm on the button, I raise most of the time, but I mini raise. After the flop, I tend to bet half the pot. So it's quite typical, if the blinds are 1 and 2, I'm going to raise to 4. And if you call, I'm going to bet half the pot, I'm going to bet 4 on the flop. And if you call that and I decide to bet the turn, I'm going to bet 8. And if you call that and I bet the river, I'm going to bet 16. And every time I'm giving you this price of 2 to 1, it's enough that if you don't have a hand, you can fold. But it's not so much that I'm overcommitting. So in other words, we have more depth to the stack because I'm betting smaller. And that enables us to have more play, more time to gather information. And hopefully I'm gathering information on you more effectively than you're gathering it on me. One of the disadvantages of being the world champion is that people do not play the same against you as they do against other opponents who they don't really know. So if you and I are at the same table, and even if we had been doing kind of the same things, the way they're going to play a given hand against you is probably different than they'll play a hand against me. And that's especially true of the less experienced players. They know that they're inexperienced, and they're here to get experience. And part of that is, they want stories that they can take home to their friends. So if they don't know who you are and they knock you out, they really can't go home and brag about it. Or even if they just take a big pot from you, or if they bluff you in a small pot even. But if they do any of those things to me, now that's something they're going to tell their friends about, and they're going to take a lot of pride and satisfaction in having done that. The good news is that they will play silly hands against me, and they'll do it in dumb ways, to put it bluntly. And that gives me opportunities to accumulate lots of chips. The bad news is that it's sometimes hard to see it coming. So they'll all of a sudden shove all in. And it's hard for me to know if my top pair, is the best hand. So maybe I fold, and now they're telling their friends they bluffed me. Especially I'll get a guy who's like really, really tight. He's being very patient, very tight, very solid, only playing premium hands. And then now all of a sudden someone raises and I re-raise. And if you know me, there's very little chance that I'm bluffing. I probably have a good hand. And now this guy who's been the tightest player at the table for 4 hours all of a sudden shoves in. Well, you have to give him respect in that spot. It's the third raise, all in, and he's been tight all day. So now I'm thinking, what, my queens are no good, my jacks are no good, I throw them away. And the guy shows me the deuce 7. And he's, I just want to say I bluffed the world champ. And I'll get that kind of stuff. If it's the first hand I've played with the guy, I'm kind of prepared for it. I know things like that might happen. But if it's 4 hours into the tournament and the guy's been tight for 4 hours, now there's no way to really predict that this was the moment he picked to try to make that big bluff that he can take home and tell his friends about. In some cases, they're playing for nothing but the experience and for some stories to take home to their friends. They know their friends are going to ask them, how did you do? And what they want to be able to say is, I made it for 5 hours and then I got knocked out. But it took a world champ to do it.